Section 1. Hey guys, tonight we're setting out on a journey across the Pacific. No GPS, no compass, not even a written map. Just the stars above, the waves beneath, and a canoe that creaks like it's telling secrets. You're standing barefoot on a black sand beach on the big island of Hawaii, the ocean ahead of you glowing faintly under moonlight, the salt mist soft against your skin. The canoe is ready, lashed together with fiber cord, its twin hulls bobbing gently in rhythm with the night tide. The crew waits silently, all eyes turn to the sky, not to admire, but to orient. You probably won't survive this, by the way. Modern humans don't navigate by stars anymore. We navigate by phone. Your battery would have died 3 TikToks into this trip. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it right now? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in the 18th century, but to be honest, this could be almost any century. The canoes haven't changed much in 1,000 years. Your teacher, the wayfinder, is an older man with hands like driftwood and eyes that don't blink often. He's memorized the sky the way some people memorize song lyrics. Each star is a word and a sentence of direction, a gentle push to go left, right, wait. You run your hand across the hull of the canoe. It's made from a single koa tree. It took months to shape. Lashing it to its twin took another few months. There's no metal here. Everything's bound together with coconut fiber and trust. You spot the paddles, long, polished, almost too beautiful to use. But use them you will. You step forward and feel the cold squish of the sand change to the firm wetness of the canoe deck. Someone hands you a bundle, dried fish, taro wrapped in leaves, kukui nuts for light. No bottled water. You're already rethinking your life choices. The moon tonight is a sliver, which is good. Full moons make the stars hard to read. The best navigating happens under a sky that looks like it's leaking diamonds. Overhead, the Milky Way slices the sky in half. You've seen it before, sure, but never like this. Out here, it's not decoration, it's information. Watch the eastern horizon, your teacher murmurs. You obey, squinting into the darkness where sea meets sky. A tiny flicker appears, not lightning, a star, the first of many. That one is Hikianalia, he tells you. Rising from the east, it tells you you're on the right course for Tahiti. You nod slowly, trying to lock it into memory. But there's a problem. Every star rises and sets. They're not permanent fixtures. You'll need to switch your attention, constantly, as your celestial guides dip below the horizon and new ones rise to take their place. The canoe pushes off. The beach falls away. The scent of plumeria fades, replaced by salt and the faint sourness of wet rope. You grip the side of the vessel as the paddlers fall into a rhythm, slow, methodical. No one speaks. Everyone's watching the stars. The waves slap against the hull in a lazy, predictable beat. This is what you want. Consistency. You'll learn to read the waves soon too. But for now, it's just you and the stars. Historians still argue whether early Polynesians really meant to make these voyages or just drifted and got lucky. You're here to find out. Spoiler alert, it's not luck, it's legacy. Your legs ache already, but there's no turning back. You sip from a gourd. The water tastes like wood. One of the paddlers hums something. It's a chant, slow and rhythmic. You'll learn that too. In the distance, another star emerges. This one is Iwakeli'i, the chief frigate bird. It sits slightly to the north, a reminder that you're holding your line. Lose this star, and you'll veer off course. Follow it, and you might just reach another island before the food runs out. You think about the first people who did this. No flares, no lighthouses, no second chances. Just a working knowledge of the sky and enough courage to sail past the edge of the known world. The Hawaiian word for navigator is kilo hoku, literally, stargazer. Sounds poetic until you realize the entire crew's safety rests on how accurately you gaze. A sea turtle surfaces nearby. For a brief moment, it's a silhouette under starlight, like a living stone. Your teacher nods, a good omen. Turtles swim long distances. Sometimes they lead the way. The night deepens. The stars settle into place like sentinels. You lie on your back, steadying yourself against the slight roll of the canoe, and try to trace imaginary lines between the constellations. Not the ones from Western textbooks. These are different. They tell different stories. One story tells of a navigator who died at sea and became a guiding star. His name is never spoken aloud, only sung. Somewhere far behind you, the island lights dim. Soon they'll vanish entirely. You're on open water now. You swallow. Not from fear, well, maybe a little, but mostly from the weight of it. The sky above, the sea below, and you, floating somewhere in between. It's not just navigation. It's an act of belief. Section 2. You blink up at the sky, your eyes straining to lock onto a cluster of stars, slowly rising in the east. Your teacher points with a bent knuckle. That one's Hanaya Kamalama, he says softly, the Southern Cross. Not just a pretty shape, but a tool. From its position, you can gauge the direction of true south. You nod, though, honestly, it still looks like random pinpricks of light. That's the thing. Out here, stars aren't decorations. They're coordinates. You're not learning constellations for fun. You're building a mental compass, a wheel of the sky. You'll hear it called the star compass, or sometimes the Hawaiian star compass, but there's no actual object to look at. It lives in your head, slowly growing as you memorize where stars rise and set across the horizon. You sit cross-legged in the center of the canoe as the teacher draws an invisible circle in the air. There are 32 points, he says, like the teeth of a shark. Each point corresponds to where a star comes up or dips down. East, west, north, south. Those are just the beginning. You learn terms like la, komohana, akau, and himas, directions based on star movements, not magnetic pull. You glance around at the other crew members. No one's writing anything down. The knowledge is oral, passed by chant, by gesture, by story. You're not learning navigation. You're absorbing it, like mist, into skin. A shout rises from the front of the canoe. Someone spotted Altair, the star the elders call A.O. It gleams overhead, one of the three in the summer triangle. As it rises, your teacher smiles. This is a star that marks the approach to southern islands. When you see Ao overhead, he says, you are deep in the road to Tahiti. You're told the horizon is divided into houses. Each star has a house where it rises and sets. Your job is to memorize those celestial addresses. If a star moves from its usual house, you know you're off course, or it's the wrong season. Either way, time to adjust. There's a joke whispered among the paddlers. If you get lost, just follow the stars, unless they're sleeping. Not all stars are visible year-round. Some disappear below the horizon for months. So the wayfinder's mind has to be like a rotating globe, always adjusting, always updating. Historians still debate how exact this system is. Was it truly reliable for thousands of miles, or more of an intuitive framework? But sitting here, with a cool night breeze brushing your arms and the stars so bright you could count eyelashes by them, it's hard to imagine it not working. These people made it work. Repeatedly. Successfully. Before the Magna Carta was written. Before Shakespeare had his first bad haircut. The canoe glides forward. The paddles no longer splash. They whisper. Even the ocean seems to respect the silence needed to think in star patterns. You close your eyes for a moment and picture the compass in your mind. You place Hokulea due east, Naleo in the southeast, and trace their arc across the night sky. You're not just on a boat. You're inside a floating observatory. Now your teacher leans toward you and tells a secret. Not all navigation happens at night. During the day, you rely on the memory of where each star moved. You carry the compass inside your skull, replaying it like a movie reel. The trick isn't remembering just one star, but remembering dozens, all at once, their positions, their paths, their relationships. Like family, he says. You know where everyone lives, even when they're not home. As the night deepens, your legs cramp, but you hardly notice. The stars are changing. Capella rises now in the northeast, hinting that the night is beginning to fold toward morning. You track it automatically, your internal compass nudging you slightly. A tiny correction of the canoe's angle. No one even notices, but that's how you stay on course. It's not just the stars, though. Your teacher reminds you, stars are loud, but subtle signs are wiser. He points to the color of the sky just above the horizon. It's darker in one direction. That's not nothing. It could mean clouds over distant land. It could mean a shoal. It could mean absolutely nothing, but you log it anyway. You're building a map of maybe. A little later, another paddler joins you with a coconut shell filled with fish jerky. It's not great, but it's not supposed to be. You chew slowly, thoughtfully, while the stars rotate overhead like a slow carousel. You wonder what the ancient navigators did when they had a cold, or a toothache, or seasickness. Probably suffered. But you don't ask. You're too busy trying to keep the compass spinning in your mind. Out of nowhere, a flying fish sails over the canoe and lands with a wet thwop against the hull. Everyone chuckles softly. Your teacher just shrugs. He's joining us. In Hawaiian belief, the sea is not just a road. It's alive, watching you, testing you. The stars are its way of offering you safe passage. Disrespect them, and you risk being swallowed by the very thing that carries you. You start to get the sense that star navigation isn't just science. It's culture. It's spirituality. It's language. Every star has a name. Every name has a story. Some tell of lovers, others of gods. One, you're told, is said to be the eye of a great voyaging ancestor who watches over canoes forever. The stars aren't just points of light, they're your crew. Somewhere behind you, your teacher yawns. That's your cue. Time to practice. You take a deep breath, point to the eastern horizon and start naming stars. Slowly, clumsily. You get a few wrong. One of them isn't even up yet. He doesn't scold. He just nods. Again. And so you do. Section 3. The stars begin to fade, almost imperceptibly, like someone slowly dimming the lights in a theater. One moment they're sharp and brilliant. The next, they're just a memory hovering behind your eyelids. A faint gray blush smudges the eastern horizon. Dawn is coming. You shift in your seat. The canoe has been moving for hours, cutting through the sea like a needle through silk. The rhythmic splash of the paddles is hypnotic, but you can't relax just yet. With the stars gone, the real challenge begins. How do we steer now? You whisper. Your teacher is already watching the water. We listen, he says. That's not metaphor. He means it literally. Now you begin your education in wave reading, an art just as ancient, just as demanding, and somehow even more mysterious than watching stars. The ocean, it turns out, is not one thing. It's 1,000 things happening at once. You close your eyes and let your body feel the rhythm. There's a main swell pushing from the northeast. You feel it as a slow rise, a drop, another rise. But layered atop that are smaller, faster ripples from the south. That's the signature of a distant storm, or maybe the wake of an island far over the horizon. Your teacher runs his hand along the water like he's petting a cat. Each swell tells a story, he says. You just have to learn the dialect. There's a funny truth out here. The ocean isn't flat. It's lumpy. Think of a waterbed someone keeps bouncing on. These lumps, the swells, move in patterns, and just like the stars, you memorize their direction and tempo. If your canoe suddenly bumps in a way it shouldn't, you know you've veered off the path. Historians still argue whether traditional Polynesian navigators could really read waves with this much accuracy. Some say it's exaggerated, a romantic legend. Others, especially modern wayfinders trained in traditional methods, scoff at that. You'll have your answer soon enough, because now your teacher is blindfolding you. No, really. He takes a strip of kapa cloth and gently ties it around your eyes. Feel, don't look, he instructs. You want to protest, but this isn't optional. So you sit quietly, surrounded by the hush of waves and morning birdsong. You listen. At first, all you register is chaos, slaps, splashes, drips. But then something changes. A slow rhythm asserts itself like the heartbeat of a huge creature beneath you. Then another pattern dances across it, lighter, quicker. You sway slightly, adjusting your shoulders. It's like learning to dance with an invisible partner. Eventually, your mouth opens. You whisper, "Northeast," but something from the south, too? A pause. Then your teacher chuckles. You're not lost yet. You remove the blindfold just in time to catch the sunrise. The horizon is glowing amber, a molten gold spilling across the sea. The sky looks freshly scrubbed, as if the stars were rinsed away to make room for this new light. The sun isn't just there to brighten your morning. It's also a navigation tool. You watch its arc closely. You know it rises slightly north of east in the summer, slightly south in the winter. You track its path through the sky, noting where it climbs, where it peaks. You'll use that arc to steer. Not precise like a compass, maybe, but enough to keep a steady heading. Your teacher passes you a coconut shell with water. It tastes faintly of smoke. You're told it was boiled over a breadfruit fire. You make a mental note. Next time, maybe ask for fresh rainwater. A flying fish jumps again. This time, it lands in the canoe. No one blinks. One of the crew picks it up, murmurs a soft mahalo, and places it beside the paddle. Food for later. Breakfast is whenever the sea says so. As the sun rises higher, your attention shifts to the birds. This is another layer of the ancient navigation code. Birds have habits. Certain species fly out to sea in the morning to fish, and return to land by evening. Others fly in circles when they're near an island. You spot a tern, noyo, circling overhead. It's too early to mean anything, but your teacher marks it with a glance. Later, you'll learn to distinguish dozens of birds by their shape and wing beat alone. You'll know that a frigate bird can fly hundreds of miles from land, while a noddy rarely strays beyond sight of the coast. You'll become a feather watcher, a beak reader, but not yet. For now, you're still amazed that people can read the sea without reading anything at all. You reach for a bundle of dried breadfruit, tear off a piece, and chew it slowly. It's sweet, with a hint of smoke. Around you, the crew begins to relax. This stretch of water is calm, reliable. They've traveled it many times. Some even claim they can sense the presence of land through the feel of the air alone. You're skeptical, until it happens. There's a subtle shift in the wind. It smells warmer, greener. Not salty, not seaweed, but plant-like. You lift your head. Your skin prickles. No one says anything. They just breathe deeply, their faces softening into faint smiles. You realize then, you're beginning to believe. Your teacher confirms it. Land is near, 2 days, maybe 3. You look to the horizon. Nothing. Just ocean stretching forever. But something inside you stirs. A tiny compass needle of confidence, quivering toward truth. You glance down at the water. A cluster of floating debris, leaves, a seed pod, even a piece of pumice drifts past. Driftwood from another island, someone mutters. You're told that sometimes even cloud shapes offer clues. Flat-bottomed clouds that hover and don't move. They often sit over land. You check the sky. Nothing like that yet, but you start scanning automatically, as if you've been doing it your whole life. You realize something else. You've stopped wondering what time it is. You don't care. The sky is your clock. The sea is your schedule. You sleep when it darkens. You wake when the birds return. You navigate not by hours, but by light and movement. The sun is high now, too bright to stare at. But you know its angle. You know your heading. And for the first time since stepping onto this canoe, you feel like you're part of the navigation, not just watching it happen. And honestly, it's kind of addictive. Section 4. You're not sure when the ocean changed again. Maybe it was subtle, a shift in texture, like turning the page of a heavy book. The swells feel longer now, the dips slower, the canoe rocks differently. You find yourself adjusting your posture without thinking. Different swell, your teacher says, not even looking up. We're crossing a seam. A seam, he explains, is where 2 wave patterns meet. like tectonic plates, but made of water. It means you've passed into a new current system, an invisible, moving map. No signs, no buoys, just patterns and patience. You try to imagine how the first Hawaiians ever figured this out. Picture them, you're told, generations ago, just like you, sitting in a canoe, scratching their heads, thinking, why do the stars rise here but feel different over there? And instead of going home, they just kept paddling. You wonder if they were brave or just bored. Your teacher smiles. Bit of both. Midday on the open Pacific is blinding. The water reflects every drop of sunlight. You shade your eyes, studying the horizon. Somewhere out there, just below it, is your target. You're not headed for a specific point, not exactly. That would be impossible. No GPS, remember? Instead, you're aiming for a target zone. It's called an etak, a moving framework of reference points. Imagine breaking the journey into chunks based on landmarks you can't see. That island you left behind? It still anchors your mental map. Even though it's vanished over the curve of the earth, you imagine where it is and use that to keep your bearings. It's like steering toward a mirage and believing in it hard enough to arrive. You find out that etak can also include stars, swells, clouds, even birds. Everything is relative, and everything is useful. You squint at a low line of cumulus clouds. They're shaped like lazy cotton loaves. One is thicker, broader. A guess floats through your head. Could there be land under that one? Maybe, your teacher says. Or maybe you're just hungry. You are, in fact, hungry. Lunch is roasted taro and salted fish, wrapped in banana leaves. One crew member swears the fish was sung to before cooking, says it tastes better that way. You take a bite. It's good. Not magical, but good. As you chew, your teacher tosses a carved stick into the water. It drifts, then spins. He watches closely, then grins. Current's with us. This, apparently, is another trick, called a palu. You drop something, feathers, sticks, even a tuft of coconut husk, and observe how it moves. Fast, slow, straight, spiraled. It reveals how the water flows beneath the canoe. Sometimes the current helps, sometimes it lies. Historians still argue whether these techniques were consistently reliable or just lucky guesswork dressed up in mystique. But as you watch the canoe align itself without any steering, you start to side with the believers. The heat grows thick. The ocean takes on a glazed look, like someone shellacked it. You retreat under a canvas shade and close your eyes. You listen to the lapping water, the distant call of seabirds, the occasional snore from someone who's decided it's their nap shift. You dream briefly of giant turtles and breadfruit that peel themselves. When you wake, it's late afternoon. The sun is beginning to slide westward, softening around the edges. Shadows stretch longer across the canoe. You stretch too, sore in all the weirdest places. Your back, your ankles, your earlobes. How are your earlobes sore? A crewmate offers a calming distraction. Want to learn the star house? You nod, and he draws invisible lines across the sky with his finger. The horizon, he explains, is divided into segments, zones from which stars rise and set, north to south like a 360-degree wheel. Each segment has a name. When a star rises in that segment, it means something specific. Tonight, for example, you'll look for Hikianalia. When she rises, you'll know to shift slightly west. Later comes Pira Atea, then Aya, also known as Sirius, the brightest of all. Each one is a breadcrumb on a long cosmic trail. The crewmate quizzes you. If Altair rises here and Canopus there, what's our heading? You fumble. He raises an eyebrow. Don't worry, you'll get it, or we'll leave you on the next reef. You both laugh. Kind of. Now, the wind picks up. Not harsh, just brisk enough to flap the sail and cool your neck. You catch a scent again. Distant, but real. Like warm earth. Could be an island. Or your imagination. It doesn't matter yet. You're still between worlds. You glance back. The island you left this morning is long gone. You're surrounded now by blue, blue and more blue. But you don't feel lost. You feel tracked, like the sky and sea are marking your passage with invisible ink. Your teacher crouches beside you. He's holding a smooth stone, basalt, volcanic. "We carry this to honor the island we left," he says. "When we arrive, we'll place it on the new shore." A seed of a home planted in another home. You turn it over in your hands. It's warm from the sun, heavy with memory. You feel suddenly emotional, and you don't know why. Maybe it's the motion. Maybe it's the salt. Maybe it's that you've never felt so small and so vast all at once. As night begins to creep in again, your teacher nods toward the horizon. "Get ready," he says. "The stars will be back soon, and they've missed you." You smile, because somehow you believe him. Section 5. Night returns like a blanket pulled gently over the world. You watch it roll in, not with violence, but with the sleepy certainty of routine. One moment the sea is steel blue, the next it deepens to ink. Stars prick through the fading sky, one by one, like tiny lanterns lit by invisible hands. The temperature drops slightly, and the wind becomes gentler, brushing across your face like someone stroking a page before turning it. You find yourself instinctively looking for the familiar ones, the star family you met the night before. There's AA, serious, bright and dependable. Then Altair, rising just a few degrees to the left of where you saw it last. Everything has moved, but nothing feels out of place. Your teacher leans beside you again. "Now we correct." "Correct what?" you wonder. "Course," he says simply, and points. You squint, trying to match the stars to the invisible compass in your head. "We're drifting too far north?" "Exactly." It's barely a sliver of a change, maybe 5 degrees, but on the open Pacific, that could be the difference between landing on a welcoming island or an endless stretch of water. You give the order, and the canoe responds with a creak and a sigh. The sail pivots. The prow adjusts. Just like that, you've nudged your fate back on track. There's a quiet sense of control in that. You learn now about the star compass, or kapeku. It's not drawn in ink or carved in wood, but held in the navigator's mind, like a floating diagram. Picture a circle divided into segments, like slices of coconut pie, with cardinal and intercardinal points. Each segment corresponds to a place on the horizon where a particular star rises or sets. That's how you steer. You memorize not just which stars to follow, but where they're supposed to be when they rise. So when Pira Itea appears not at southeast but a bit too east, you know something's off. Maybe the swell is steering you. Maybe the wind is pushing harder than you feel. Maybe you didn't notice a subtle shift in the current. Either way, you gently correct, always listening, always watching. Historians still debate how this mental compass was first taught. Some say apprentices memorized chants to lock in the star names and angles. Others argue it was purely oral repetition over months at sea. There are even accounts, though unverified, of navigators tested blindfolded, steering by rhythm alone. You test your own instincts, close your eyes for 10 seconds, feel the canoe roll, dip, rise again. Is that the swell from the northeast, or the east-northeast? Your answer comes with half a shrug. You say aloud. Is not a heading, your teacher replies. There's laughter in the dark. Now you get your first solo task. Watch the stars and steer for 1 hour. Easy, right? It's not. The sky is huge and stars look different when they're slightly off-center. You pick Altair, a classic, and try to keep it just above the bow. But the swell rolls left, and then right, and soon the star wobbles. Your corrections are too sharp, too obvious. The canoe groans. A crewmate groans louder. But after a few minutes, you find a rhythm. It's not about locking your eyes to the star, but rather sinking your breath to the ocean. You become a metronome, steady and calm. Your hands barely move. The canoe slides like a whispered secret across the water. Somewhere behind you, someone starts humming. It's low and tuneless, more vibration than melody. Others join in, soft, scattered voices. You don't know the words, but you recognize the feeling. It's the ocean's lullaby, and it settles into your bones like a second heartbeat. Your teacher claps a gentle approval. You didn't crash. That's progress. You feel oddly proud. But soon clouds start drifting in, soft at first, then heavier. The stars blink out, one by one, like lights before a storm. You can't see your guide points. You can't correct your course. For a second, panic threatens to creep in. Then the teacher says something strange. Look lower. You peer closer to the horizon. Still no stars. Lower. You tilt your head and suddenly spot them. Not in the sky, but on the sea. Star reflections. Faint, shimmering versions of the real ones dancing gently on the water's surface. When the clouds are thin or low enough, the stars still reach you through reflection. That's your backup plan. You steer by starlight bounced off an ocean miles deep. It feels improbable. It also works. As the clouds thicken and full darkness falls, the sea becomes a dome. Sky above, stars below, and you balanced perfectly between them. The illusion is so complete you forget which way is up. Eventually, the clouds win. Everything vanishes. No moon, no stars, just ink. Your teacher grunts. Time for bird mode. Bird mode? You wait. Then laughter again. Just kidding. Kind of. In the absence of stars, you rely on memory of swells, wind direction, scent. It's like walking through your own house in pitch dark. You don't need sight, just familiarity. Then, as if summoned by the joke, a seabird screeches overhead. You recognize the sound. A noyo, the Polynesian naughty turn. Now that, your teacher says, that's better than any compass. Noyo birds, you learn, don't stray too far from land. If they fly out in the morning and return in the evening, they're using invisible sky maps too, reading currents, wind, and fish behavior. Their flight paths can confirm you're close to something. Not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. The wind shifts again. The crew readjusts the sail. You watch the fabric stretch, billow, and catch. The canoe moves with renewed confidence, even if the stars are gone. You don't realize you're humming until someone joins you. The night continues, not as a challenge, but as a lull. You're learning that ancient navigation isn't about domination, but conversation. You speak to the sea, and it murmurs back. There's peace in that. Section 6. By morning, the stars have faded, replaced by that slow, silvery light that creeps in from the east like it's shy to interrupt. You're stiff from your makeshift seat, and your legs ache, but you barely notice. Your mind is still adrift with the memory of stars, gliding birds, and the quiet hum of the night crew's lullabies. Then you smell breakfast. Not bacon and eggs, mind you, though that would be lovely. No, this is the briny scent of dried fish warmed by the morning sun, the sweet hint of roasted breadfruit, and the unexpected comfort of kukui nut paste, smeared thick and creamy on taro. You eat in silence, watching the sun climb the sky, listening to the creak of the canoe's wood expanding in the heat. Now comes another kind of training, daylight navigation. You might think it's easier. After all, you can see everything, right? Wrong. Stars give you fixed points. The sun? It moves constantly like a bossy supervisor who refuses to stand still long enough to be useful. You learn to watch the sun's arc, not its position. It rises in the east, sure, but exactly where in the east shifts with the season. That means you have to know the date, or at least the moon phase, to make sense of it. You mark it mentally against the horizon. How high at midday? What shadow it casts on the sail pole? It becomes a clock without numbers. Your teacher hands you a long stick and instructs you to stand it upright near the center deck. What's this for? You ask. Watch. He taps the stick's shadow. That tells you time. Also tells you drift. You look puzzled. Shadow gets shorter. It's closer to noon. Shadow angle shifts left or right. That means the current's dragging us. It's not an exact science, but over time you begin to read these clues the way a barista reads coffee stains. Every detail offers something. And then, the real fun begins. Reading the ocean. You've spent all this time looking up. Now you look down. Waves are not just waves. They're messengers. That low rolling rhythm from the northeast, that's the prevailing trade swell. The sharper, more chaotic pulse riding over it, that's the reflected swell, bouncing back off an island you can't see yet. You start layering these patterns in your head like sheet music. Historians still argue whether early Hawaiian navigators could truly track multiple swell directions at once, or whether that's an exaggeration from modern observers trying to romanticize the skill. But here, with your feet spread wide and knees soft against the motion, you start to believe it's possible. You feel the changes. You don't have a GPS, but you're becoming one. You also notice things that aren't on any modern map. A patch of oddly calm water amid the waves, like a glassy eye staring back. That's a wake eddy, maybe left behind by a big sea creature or another canoe hours ahead. Your teacher points it out with a knowing nod. Someone was here, he murmurs. Then there's color. The ocean isn't one color, it's many, shifting with depth, sediment, and algae. A patch of milky blue signals a shallow reef. Emerald green might hint at fresh water seeping from a hidden underwater spring. Chocolate brown with floating bits. Probably best avoided. Sometimes the birds return. Terns, frigates, and the occasional booby. Yes, that's really what they're called. Gliding low or circling high. Their patterns become part of your logic. If one flies straight out from the west in the morning, it's likely hunting. If it circles and returns the same way mid-afternoon, it's heading home. You can follow that flight. By mid-morning, the clouds start their lazy formations. You learn to read them too, not just for weather, but for reflections. Some types, especially cumulus, cast faint mirrored shapes onto the ocean. If you spot a cloud with a dull greenish glow underneath, there's a strong chance it's reflecting a shallow atoll or sandy shore. It's like nature whispering, "Land ahead." Of course, the sea can lie. Mirage-like effects play tricks with light and shadow. Once, you spot what looks like a dark smudge just over the horizon. You swear it's land. You adjust the course. The crew looks hopeful. 3 hours later, it's nothing. Just a stubborn cloud that refused to move. Your teacher doesn't scold you. He just grins and says, "Even the ocean enjoys a joke sometimes." You laugh, mostly because you're exhausted and salt-sticky and sunburnt in weird places. But it's the good kind of tired, the kind where your mind feels stretched, like it learned a new language without quite realizing it. That afternoon, the swell begins to shift. You recognize the bass rhythm, but there's a secondary pulse that's unfamiliar, choppier, tighter. Someone calls it a wind swell, kicked up by a storm far away. You'll feel that all night, your teacher says. So you adjust again, sail slightly angled, weight shifted left, steering more by feel than sight. You realize this isn't about perfection. It's about continuous micro-corrections, like breathing. That evening, you get your second solo test. Keep the canoe steady until first star eyes. It sounds poetic. It's not. The wind has picked up. The waves are slapping now, and you feel every jolt in your knees. Your arms ache, your eyes blur, but still, you hold steady. And then, there it is, on the eastern edge of everything, one tiny light. Your old friend returns. You nod and whisper, "Welcome back." The teacher, half asleep in the corner, opens one eye. "Told you he'd show." The crew claps lazily. Someone throws a slice of dried banana your way. It lands in your lap with a sticky plop. Victory snack. That night, the rhythm returns. Stars, swells, wind, hum. You find your place in the song again. And this time, you're not just following the path. You're part of it. Section 7. Another dawn, another rise into the searing clarity of day. By now, your skin has darkened a few shades, your arms are rougher from rope and paddle, and your sleep schedule, well, let's just say you don't really have one anymore. You sleep when the sea allows, and you wake when the wind insists. Today, the voyage shifts again. The navigator calls out 2 words, Lahui I'ae, another island, not the one you're headed for, but a stopping point, a test, a memory marker, an ancestral rest stop tucked into the Pacific's vast emptiness. You squint toward the horizon. Nothing. And yet the canoe turns. You adjust the sail with the crew, noting how the wind has shifted just slightly, the scent in the air touched with something you can't name. Faint, earthy, like crushed leaves and sweet stone. You realize you're beginning to smell land before you ever see it. The canoe becomes more than transportation. It's now a conversation between you and the sky, between your teacher and the wind, between the ancestors and every creak in the hull. You're reminded that Hawaiian navigation didn't just happen out of curiosity. This wasn't a vacation cruise. It was survival, diplomacy, and sacred duty all wrapped into one. There were voyages to fetch marriage partners, to deliver news, to confirm alliances. These were highways of the deep, and your role on this canoe is more than just student. It's witness. Then comes the chant, not all at once. It starts as a soft murmur from the navigator, low and rhythmic like wave against outrigger. Then another joins, and another. Soon, the entire crew is intoning a mele, a navigation chant hundreds of years old. Not to pass time, not to entertain, but to remember. Each verse maps a star, a current, a bird's flight, a reef passed under a waxing moon. These chants are oral GPS systems, if GPS systems were sung with reverence and goosebumps. You mouth the words clumsily, trying not to trip on the syllables. Your teacher taps your shoulder and whispers, "No rush. The sea has time. So do you." You repeat that to yourself. The sea has time. It becomes a small mantra, somewhere between calming and intimidating. After midday, the sun glints against the waves with that blinding, full-force shimmer that makes you want to curse at nature for being too extra. You drape a cloth over your head, squinting between fingers as you look out, and there, just for a second, you spot it. Land. Low, green, and impossibly small, like someone spilled a smudge of watercolor on the ocean's canvas. No one celebrates. No cheering. No dramatic declarations. Instead, the crew just nods, adjust course slightly, and keep sailing. Because they knew it would be there. This island isn't marked on any tourist map. It's a coral atoll, part of the northwestern Hawaiian chain, visited more by seabirds and turtles than people. But to the old navigators, it's familiar as a neighbor's porch light. Landing is complicated. There's no dock, just reef and surge and coral teeth waiting to chew through the hull. You all anchor offshore and paddle in using smaller craft, simple outriggers carved from breadfruit or willy-willy trees. As your feet touch land for the first time in days, it feels weird, solid, wrong almost. The sand is too still. Your body misses the movement. You walk with a sway like you're still afloat. But the island welcomes you in its own way. The smell of pandanus flowers, the screech of nesting terns, and most precious of all, fresh water. A brackish spring bubbles in the center of the isle, hidden beneath tangled vines. The crew drinks in turns, cupping the cool liquid like treasure. Historians still argue whether these tiny islands served as permanent homes or just temporary waypoints. The truth, as usual, lies somewhere in between. Some were sacred, visited only for rituals or to harvest seasonal foods. Others were stopping points in grand voyages that looped from Tahiti to the Big Island and back again, over 2,500 miles of blue uncertainty. That afternoon, you're sent to forage, not to test your survival skills Bear Grylls style. More like, see if you can collect enough coconuts without being pooped on by a red-footed booby. You learn quickly that coconuts do not fall politely. They drop with violence, and opening one with a rock is a messy, humiliating task until someone hands you a sharpened clamshell and says, "Try again, Hollywood." Dinner is strange and wonderful. Smoked fish wrapped in thai leaves, pickled seaweed, and a dessert of mashed banana with wild honey. You eat under a setting sun, the sea soft at your feet, and for a moment you forget the modern world ever existed. Then comes night again. You sleep under the open sky, on a bed of dry grass and woven mats. The wind carries the scent of salt and blossoms. Someone hums the star chant again, but slower now, like a lullaby for the ocean herself. You think about how this island doesn't exist on most globes, and yet it has its own pulse, its own memories. And because of the knowledge passed down, not on paper but through voice and vision, you found it. The sea had time, and now so do you. Section 8. You leave the island at first light, slipping quietly from its shallow embrace like a respectful guest who knows better than to overstay. The canoe rocks gently as the crew pushes off, paddles slicing through reef-fed turquoise before returning you to that endless field of blue. Now the real test begins. You're to practice dead reckoning. Sounds dramatic, doesn't it? Like something involving skeletons and pirate maps. But no, it's just the art and headache of keeping track of your position without any physical markers. No stars, no GPS, no smartphone app telling you where the nearest shaved ice stand is. Just memory, math, the intuitive gut feel kind, and an ocean the size of a continent. Your teacher draws a rough grid in the air with his fingers. Every hour, estimate, direction, speed, current. Stack those guesses. That's how you get home. Simple enough. If your brain were a calculator, your body a compass, and your nerves made of koa wood. But you try. You guess you've been sailing northwest for maybe 2 hours, at around 7 knots. The wind has held steady from the east, but the currents started to curl south. You account for that. Sort of. Mentally, you plot a tiny triangle with a little imaginary canoe icon bobbing along the line. By midday, the sun's merciless again. Less golden orb, more judgmental heat lamp. The crew moves slow, conserving energy. You're drenched in sweat, tasting salt not just from the sea, but from yourself. Everything smells like rope, dried fish, and faint coconut oil. You long for shade, but the shade is a myth. The sail casts just enough of a shadow to taunt you, always one step away. You wonder how the ancients did this without SPF 50. The answer, apparently, lots of tattoos and even more attitude. To distract yourself, you listen. To the creak of the hull, the flap of the sail, the plunk of flying fish landing occasionally on deck, nature's snack delivery service, and the murmur of old stories passed around the canoe like shared fruit. Someone tells the tale of Pau, the legendary priest navigator who brought new gods and strict kapu laws to Hawaii. Historians still argue whether he was a real person, a group of people, or just a symbol of cultural change. You try to imagine him, weathered skin, eyes like obsidian, barking sacred incantations into the wind. But what strikes you is this. Even he needed to know the sea. Even a priest needed the stars to guide him. Mid-afternoon brings birds again. This time, a scattered group of noddies spiraling above the swell. You track their movement, guessing distances. You think maybe there's land. Maybe. The teacher shakes his head. Feeding ground. They'll head back later. He's right. As dusk approaches, your teacher hands you the pola, a shallow bowl filled with sand, a small stick stuck in the center. You've seen it before. The star compass trainer. On land, it's a static teaching aid. Out here, it's a living model. He smooths the sand and draws rough cardinal points with his finger. Tonight, he says, you steer using Hoku'ula, the red star, east of due south. She'll rise first. You nod, nervous but excited. It's your first night in full control. No training wheels, no backup, just you and the night. After dinner, dried aku and chewy breadfruit, you take your post. The sail adjusts. The tiller creaks. The stars, as always, take their sweet time arriving. But arrive they do. And when Hoku'ula peaks above the horizon, glowing faintly like an ember held behind thin cloth, you exhale. Steer steady, the teacher calls softly from the shadows. Not by your eyes, by your body. You don't fully understand what he means until an hour in. It's not about staring at the star. that'll drive you cross-eyed. It's about letting its position settle into your peripheral vision, like a candle flame you're aware of without looking directly. You adjust course not with jerks or sudden movements, but with subtle shifts, left foot pressure, angle of your hips, tilt of your shoulder. You become the steering system. It feels ridiculous, and then it feels natural, and finally it feels sacred. For hours, you hold that course. The sea hushes, the crew sleeps. Somewhere a child snores like a miniature pig. You smile, and then you feel it, your first correction. The stars moved, not because you drifted, but because the earth has. Time to switch guide stars. You reach for the bowl again, recalibrating. The teacher says nothing. He's awake, watching, testing. You feel his approval in the silence. Another hour, another correction, another layer of stardust logic entering your bones. And somewhere, somehow, the ocean responds. A smoothness returns to the canoe's motion. The wind settles. You swear the stars shine a little brighter. Your teacher finally speaks. You didn't just hold a course, you became the course. You don't quite believe him, but you also don't argue. Because tonight, for just a moment, you forget you're a guest in this practice. You feel like you belong. Section 9. The sun rises slow and soft like a shy curtain parting on a sleepy stage. The ocean stretches before you, calm as a cat napping in a sunny window. Your muscles ache in places you didn't know existed. But the ache is a gentle reminder that you're alive, moving, learning. You settle into the rhythm of the day, paddling in a slower, more mindful way. The crew shares quiet laughs, stories half forgotten, half invented. You begin to notice the subtle signs around you. The way the waves curve near submerged reefs, the pattern of clouds hinting at distant land, the flight paths of seabirds marking safe passage. Your teacher points out a curious detail, a low-flying frigate bird circling steadily. Not just any bird, he says. She's a pathfinder, flying far out, searching. When she comes back, she brings news. You watch as the bird dips and rises, its dark wings cutting the sky like a brushstroke. The navigator's eyes gleam. It's a sign. Land is close, closer than you thought. You lean back against the outrigger and think about how this whole navigation system was built on such delicate observations. Not just stars, but birds, winds, waves, and the smell of the sea itself. The entire ocean becomes a library, and the canoe is your reading desk. Later, the conversation drifts to the ancient Hawaiian concept of mana, that invisible spiritual energy flowing through everything. Navigators had it in spades, your teacher says, eyes twinkling. Not just skill, but connection to sea, sky, ancestors. Historians still debate how much mana shaped these voyages versus practical knowledge, but you can feel it, the reverence, the weight, the quiet confidence in every action. By midday, the sun bakes down hard, the scent of salt and sweat mingling with warm wood and coconut husk. You drink from a gourd, feeling the cool liquid slide down, grateful for simple comforts. As the afternoon stretches, your thoughts wander to the canoe itself. Crafted from a single tree, koa, heavy and strong, it carries not just people but generations of wisdom. Every scar and knot tells a story. You help the crew check the rigging, learning how slight adjustments change the dance with wind and wave. The paddle strokes become less about brute force and more about flow. Pull, glide, repeat. When evening falls, you sit quietly as the crew begins the star chant once more. This time it's softer, more intimate, like a shared secret whispered under a blanket. You realize this chant isn't just about navigation, it's about memory, identity, survival. Each verse folds into the next, creating a tapestry of sound that feels like home, no matter how far from land you drift. As darkness deepens, you gaze upward. The sky is a glittering canvas, stars blinking like sleepy eyes watching over you. The navigator points out the rising Maka'ainana, a star group guiding fishermen. It's a gentle reminder. Everyone has a place in this vast world, a role, a path. You tuck the image into your mind, the endless sea, the steady stars, the quiet strength of those who came before, and you, here and now, learning to follow their light. Section 10. The next morning you wake to a chorus of seabirds and a soft breeze whispering across the waves. Your body still aches, but that familiar soreness now feels like a badge of honor, proof of progress and persistence. Today, your teacher introduces a new tool, a delicate wooden device called the makau ho'oheno, a type of fish hook-shaped pointer used to track the rising and setting positions of stars. It's simple, yet profound. Holding it in your hands, you feel the weight of generations who once relied on such tools to read the heavens. Your task, to map the horizon with the makau, to mark where particular stars appear and disappear. It's a careful process of observation and note-taking, all done mentally, of course, since you have no paper or pen. You watch the sun slowly arc overhead, marking time with shadows and warmth. As afternoon stretches on, you notice how the color of the sky subtly changes near the horizon, a pale lavender just before sunset, a signal to watch for the first star. You learn that the makau is more than a pointer. It's a reminder that navigation is part science, part art. Your teacher smiles as you fumble with it, joking that your fingers are more thumbs than hands today. Historians still argue about how widely such tools were used across the Pacific Islands, whether they were common aids or reserved for the most skilled navigators. But here now, the makau feels like an extension of your own senses, linking your hands to the cosmos. As night falls, you prepare for another star-guided leg of the journey. This time, you focus on Pola Pola, a star known for its steady glow and importance in timing. You track its position carefully, feeling your confidence grow with each correction. The sea is calm, the waves gentle. Somewhere in the distance, a whale's song echoes, a haunting melody that seems to drift through the air like an ancient lullaby. You rest your hands lightly on the tiller, breathing in the cool night air, and realize that every moment on this canoe is a lesson, not just in navigation, but in patience, humility, and connection. By dawn, you're beginning to understand the rhythm of the ocean and sky, a slow dance that doesn't rush or push but flows with the natural order of things. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to become a part of it. Section 11. The light of morning spills softly over the horizon, painting the sky in gentle pinks and oranges. You wake to the low murmur of waves and the quiet creak of the canoe's timbers settling with the swell. The ocean feels like a vast, breathing creature, and you, just a small part of its rhythm. Today's lesson is about the importance of the ocean swell as a navigation tool. Your teacher explains how the Polynesians learned to read the ocean's surface, feeling the subtle rise and fall of waves that bounce off distant islands and reefs. It's like hearing echoes in water, a language spoken in swells and ripples. You sit at the edge of the canoe, eyes closed, focusing on the gentle rocking beneath you. It feels like being cradled in the arms of the sea itself. The patterns are faint but distinct, the difference between the normal ocean swell and the disrupted waves that hint at land nearby. The technique requires patience and a finely tuned body. Your teacher jokes that you'll need to develop sea legs and sea ears before you can truly master it. You laugh, wincing as your muscles protest the unfamiliar exercise. Historians still argue whether this wave piloting was a universally taught skill or a secret passed down only to select navigators. You can almost imagine the ceremonies where young voyagers sat silently, learning to sense the sea's whispers, their senses sharpened like a hawk's. As the sun climbs, you notice seabirds again. This time, the graceful white-tailed tropic birds soaring low, their long tail feathers trailing behind like ribbons. Your teacher explains how their flight paths are clues. Tropic birds often nest on remote islands, so following their route can lead you home. By afternoon, you're practicing this swell reading yourself, placing a hand lightly on the hull, trying to feel the subtle differences. Your teacher watches with a knowing smile, reminding you that it's not just what you see, but what you feel deep inside. Later, as the sky darkens to twilight, the stars emerge once more. Your teacher chants softly, a gentle hum blending with the rising breeze. You recognize the familiar constellations, the Kekahuli, the turning stars that guide travelers through the night. You feel the canoe's steady glide and the faint pulse of the sea beneath your feet. It's peaceful, almost hypnotic, and you realize that this ancient skill is less about conquering the ocean and more about listening to it. Section 12. Night falls like a velvet blanket, wrapping you in quiet darkness broken only by the faint shimmer of stars overhead. The ocean is calm but alive, humming softly as the canoe slips forward. You settle into your watch, eyes lifted to the sky, mind focused yet gently drifting. Tonight's lesson is the most challenging yet, navigating by the rising and setting points of multiple stars, a complex dance of celestial markers. Your teacher explains how skilled navigators memorize a star compass, a mental map of where key stars appear and disappear along the horizon throughout the year. You imagine the horizon as a giant clock, stars as hands ticking steadily through the night. Holding this mental clock, you can tell time, direction, and position. It's as if the sky itself offers a slow, reassuring pulse that guides your every move. Your teacher points out a subtle twinkle far to the east. That's Keke'ilia Melemele, the yellow-tipped tail star, he whispers. She's your guide for the next leg. You stare, trying not to blink too much, aware that the night sky isn't static, but alive, shifting imperceptibly with the Earth's rotation. Historians still debate how exact these mental star compasses could be, whether they worked as rigid maps or flexible guides adapted on the fly. You hold your breath, balancing the tiller with a gentle touch, adjusting to keep that tiny star aligned just right. Minutes stretch into hours. The sky deepens, the stars tracing slow arcs that seem to sing silent lullabies. Somewhere in the distance, a pod of dolphins arcs through the water, their bodies sparkling under the moonlight like quicksilver. You let your thoughts drift to the ancient voyagers who once navigated this same ocean without instruments beyond their eyes and hearts. They must have trusted more than just knowledge. They trusted intuition, memory, and the invisible threads connecting them to the sea and sky. As you watch, a faint cloud bank approaches, softening the starlight. You pause, aware that weather is a constant companion on the ocean, sometimes a friend, sometimes a test. Your teacher murmurs, "Trust the waves now. Stars may hide, but the sea never lies." You feel the canoe sway differently, patterns shifting beneath you, a silent message from the deep. The night teaches patience and respect, and you learn to listen, not just with your eyes, but with your whole being. Section 13. The sky begins to lighten slowly, a soft gradient from navy to pale blue. You feel the cool morning air brush your skin, carrying the faint scent of salt and damp wood. The ocean around you is serene, and the canoe moves almost silently, cutting a smooth line through the calm waters. Your teacher speaks quietly about the winds, their patterns, moods, and mood swings. The makani, as Hawaiians call the wind, is a subtle guide that sailors respect deeply. You learn how different winds blow during various seasons and times of day, influencing your course and speed. There's a gentle joke about wind moods, as if the breeze were a shy friend who sometimes plays hard to get. You smile, feeling the warmth of this playful storytelling, a reminder that even in such serious navigation, humor has its place. You practice reading the wind by feel, holding your hand out, noticing the slightest change in direction and strength. Your teacher explains that a navigator's body is a kind of weather instrument, finely tuned to these invisible currents. Historians still debate how well ancient navigators predicted sudden storms or calms. Some suggest they had a deep understanding of oceanic and atmospheric patterns that modern science is only beginning to appreciate. As the sun rises higher, you spot a floating plant cluster bobbing gently on the water, a clue perhaps that an island lies nearby. Your teacher points out how voyagers used such natural markers, alongside stars and swells, to pinpoint their location. Later, you hear a soft murmur, chanting from the crew, a ritual invocation asking for safe passage and favorable winds. The sound is soothing, rhythmic, like a heartbeat that matches the canoe's steady glide. You close your eyes, letting the chant wash over you, imagining the generations of voyagers who sailed these same seas, guided by the stars, winds, and their own unshakable resolve. And in this moment, you feel a connection across time, space, and ocean to those who trusted the night sky to bring them home. Section 14. The afternoon sun lowers slowly, casting long, honeyed shadows across the waves. You feel a gentle fatigue settling into your limbs, but your mind remains alert, absorbing the subtle lessons of the sea and sky. Today's focus is on the ili ili, small, smooth stones used in ancient Hawaiian navigation rituals. Your teacher explains how voyagers carried these pebbles as tactile memory aids, each stone representing a star or a direction on the star compass. You hold a cool, round stone in your palm, feeling the weight and texture. It's surprisingly comforting, like carrying a tiny piece of the sky in your hand. Your teacher jokes that it's better than modern GPS, since it never needs charging. Historians still argue about how widespread this practice was, with some believing it was a personal mnemonic device, while others suggest it had ceremonial significance as well. As the sun dips toward the horizon, your teacher shares a story about a famous navigator named Mau Piailug, who in the 20th century helped revive traditional wayfinding techniques by sailing from Micronesia to Hawaii without instruments. It's a gentle reminder that these ancient skills never truly vanished. You watch as the sky shifts from gold to deep indigo, and the first stars begin to blink awake. The canoe rocks softly beneath you, a cradle rocking in tune with the vast ocean. Your teacher starts a quiet chant, each word a brushstroke painting the night sky with memory and meaning. You join in softly, feeling the rhythm, the lineage, the legacy of those who came before. You realize that navigation here isn't just about finding land. It's about belonging to the sea and sky, being part of a story much larger than yourself. And as night deepens, you feel that story settle gently around you like a warm blanket. Section 15. Night envelops the sea once again, soft and deep like the inside of a shell. You feel the gentle sway of the canoe beneath you, a quiet lullaby from the ocean itself. The stars overhead twinkle steadily, like old friends keeping watch. Tonight, your teacher speaks of the final lesson, the heart of navigation, trust. Trust in your senses, your memories, and the connection between sea, sky, and self. You learn that while tools, chance, and observations are vital, the navigator's inner compass guides the true way. You imagine the ancient voyagers who left their islands without maps or compasses, propelled by faith in their knowledge and intuition. Their courage is quiet but immense, a steady flame in the vast darkness. Your teacher's voice lowers to a whisper, telling tales of voyages that lasted weeks, months, spanning thousands of miles. The canoe is their home, the stars their map, and the ocean their constant companion. You feel a deep calm settle over you as you take in this knowledge, your mind quieting, your body relaxing. The stories blend into the gentle sound of waves lapping against the hull. You recall earlier lessons, the star chants, the swell reading, the feel of the makau in your hands. All these pieces come together, weaving a tapestry of ancient wisdom and human connection. As you gaze up one last time, the sky full of endless possibilities, you realize you have traveled far, not just across the ocean, but inside yourself. The journey continues in quiet, in dream, in the steady pulse of stars. You're drifting now, the steady rhythm of the waves carrying you toward peaceful rest. Imagine the vast Pacific, calm and endless beneath the stars. The gentle rocking of the canoe mirrors the slow rise and fall of your breath. Thoughts soften, slipping away like clouds at dusk. The stories you've heard settle softly, wrapping you in warmth and quiet wonder. The ancient navigator's patience and grace become a gentle song in your mind, guiding you deeper into calm. Feel the cool night air brushing your skin, the salt scent mingling with the faint fragrance of koa wood. The sky above is a vast, comforting blanket dotted with twinkling lights, each star a silent guardian of your sleep. Let the vastness of the ocean and the timeless sky remind you that you are part of something bigger, steady, enduring, serene. Rest now, wrapped in the quiet embrace of sea and stars. Tomorrow will come with its own journey, but for now, surrender to the calm. Sleep well.